Good morning. Guten Tag. Buenos dias. How do they say good morning? Do you let Chichi and Nads? How do you say good morning in French? Bonjour. Ce soir. Fermez la bouche. J'aime le glace. J'aime le stade. Le football. Good morning, Faith Goodman. Good morning, Soph Sack. Let's have a look at this. So, okay, cheerio. You're a pain. Bye. Good morning, everyone. How are we? Morning, Jules, The Apprentice, Deborah Holdsworth, Margaret O'Brien, Angela Gilden. Not seen your name before. Hey, welcome, Angela. We're going to munch our way through a bunch of papers. We're going to flick through the papers. We're going to nudge our way and nuzzle through them. It's kind of a weird old selection. You can palpably feel all of the newspapers' frustration that World War III isn't upon us. You can feel it fizzing. They're like, why is everyone firing stupid rockets at nothing? They're all kind of going, I told you yesterday, I said you're going to see headlines everywhere saying World War III is imminent, and it isn't. It doesn't mean things are good, far from it. And this is all completely to the side of the continuing horror of Gaza and Palestine. But as I said, there is this is look, I am the number one guy in this group. You're absolutely right, Zoe. So yeah, World War III, they want it. The papers want it. It's funny, isn't it? Because if it happens, there'll be no papers. So it's kind of stupid kind of wish fulfillment that they're after. So yeah, so you can see in some of the papers, the Mirror, they're kind of like, careful, everyone's asking for restraint. I think restraint is now there between Iran and Israel. But sure as hell, the whole area is in an absolute mess. That's a fact. And the usual suspects are still up to their usual games. But let's have a look through the papers, shall we? Let's have a look what's happening on the front of the papers today. Great frames today, Mark. Thank you very much. Yeah, a bit square. I couldn't find my other ones. Couldn't find my Jurgens, Vic. So no thank you to World War III, which is good. Media likes to scaremonger. If it bleeds, it leads. You know it. Okay, so front of the Telegraph. You are openly Jewish. Scotland Yard under fire after man is threatened with arrest for walking near pro-Palestinian protesters. This is the idea, or this is the story, it's not the idea, that police officers threatened to arrest a man who they described as openly Jewish. They've subsequently apologized for this. He was walking in central London. The idea behind them saying this was the fear that because he was identifiably Jewish and it was a pro-Palestinian march, they felt that he might be provocative. And so, of course, this has been seized upon, quite understandably, by anti-Semitic organizations, not anti-Semitic organizations, people fighting against anti-Semitism. The police mishandled this. They used the wrong language. We've been on, we have all been on marches. We've been in demonstrations, seen lots and lots of demonstrably Jewish people. So on the marches, supporting the marches. So there were sort of two angles to this. On the one hand, just because you are openly Jewish doesn't mean you are in any way a threat, nor are you a provocation on these marches, because they're not actually hate marches. I think if you were standing with a Zionist banner and you were screaming "Israel rules," down with the Gazans, I think then they made there'd be an argument for it. So once again, we don't know. Maybe if he'd been standing there shouting abuse, there could be an argument, but I don't think he was. So it's kind of right that this is called out. I do think in response to this, a number of Jewish organizations are saying, let's be openly Jewish and proud and let's walk freely across the streets. I think this is speaking to a sort of fine line between, protest or counter protest and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it is a non-story, but I think a lot of, organizations, he said he just wanted to go for a walk. And if he did just want to go for a walk, that's fine. If he did just want to go for a walk, that's fine. And if he wasn't being provocative politically to the police have a duty to make sure that any counter protest, if they know they've got, for example, if you've got, 80,000, let's say 80,000 supporters of Israel, walking down the street. And then you've got someone kind of walking into the middle of them, saying with a, identifiably Palestinian with a flag saying, they won't say that you can't do that, but they will want to be protecting the peace. So it's a tricky one, because on the one hand, they wanted to protect the person who's walking in, and they wanted to make sure that it doesn't kick up into a much bigger conflagration. So this is, so it's a curious one. It's on the front of the Telegraph. I think what's wanting to be made of it is the suggestion that the police are inherently anti-Semitic, which just isn't the case. Well, no more than they are anti everything else or not. You know what I mean? The other big story this morning, in America. This is the protester that set himself on fire outside the Trump court building. Someone else who was demonstrating. From the debris that was left behind, he's died. He tragically died this morning of his injuries. Within the debris that the police took photos of, there was a sign reading, "Trump is with Biden and they're about to fascist coup us." Flyers left at the scene linked to an online manifesto entitled, "I have set myself on fire outside the Trump trial." It was an extreme act of protest over what he's describing as an imminent fascist world coup. These are always tricky, aren't they? Because, of course, it's a little bit like the chap who the American soldier who set themselves on fire and tragically died too. There's a frustration when people say, well, they clearly had a mental health issue. I think, and then that somehow diminishes the strength of what they're trying to say, or the bravery of what they're trying to do. I think a confusion and a fusion of mental health issues and political distress have been brought together. If you feel the need to set yourself on fire for anything, you're in a dark place if you feel that it's the only solution. But it's just, these images are just, these are. I don't know if you remember. There's an incredibly famous image. Was it from Thailand? I think it might have been a Tibetan monk actually, who set themselves on fire. Was it JFK who talked about that many, many years ago? I mean, there are people who really believe this stuff. Yeah. So one doesn't want to talk, and just talk him down. I mean, obviously he was troubled enough to feel he had to. Vietnam. Was it Vietnam? Yeah. So yeah, that's sort of big news this morning. This story I pulled because there's a couple of aspects to this. This is a story called Infected. Well, the headline is "Infected Blood: Kids Used as Guinea Pigs." This is about secret medical trials that were used infected blood products on children during the 1970s and 80s. These are youngsters that had blood clotting disorders, and it's just the cavalier attitude of the health authorities back then. That were used essentially as guinea pigs. And so the hospitals at the time, I think it was the Middlesex Hospital, which has since closed in central London, using sort of experimental kind of gear and blood, or infected blood, in processes and what have you, to try and help young children that were struggling with blood clotting issues. One product, known as Factor 8, was highly effective for stopping bleeding, but was also widely known to be contaminated with viruses. Haemophiliac Luke O'Shea Phillips caught potentially lethal virus Hep C in 1985 after age 3, after being treated for a small cut on the side of their mouth. Yes, there is a Curly Cooks. It's at midday today, Keely. I think the thing about this is, none of us have, and I do want to talk about this just for a moment, none of us have any logical miscomprehension. We don't struggle to understand the idea that something we thought was groundbreaking once, over a little bit of time, it can be discovered that it isn't. And I wonder why that disallows us from being able to ask questions. Without wishing to raise the enormous topic of vaccines. The thing about the whole vaccine chat and conversation, which I find really intolerable, is the idea that no questions can be asked, and that in the asking of a question, you become characterized as some kind of crackpot lunatic. I think if we can't ask questions, then we've lost what it means to be a human being with an inquiring brain. If we just blithely accept everything, and I think, we don't want to get into the debate of how many of us did accept it, didn't accept it, all that. Well, I get it. I understand all that. It's big pharma and all this kind of stuff. But it seems odd that we can have such understanding when it's in the rearview mirror some years ago. I'm thinking of things like, what was the thalidomide? Absolutely. I'm thinking, and wasn't thalidomide actually a pill for heartburn?
No, it was for morning sickness.
Yeah, morning sickness. So it wasn't even like an acute, that was something like a Rennie for pregnant women. And so when people get, as the mainstream would characterize them, hysterical about these things, or a little bit kind of hot under the collar, maybe we should pause and not just damn it, because as soon as it's the 1970s, we're like, oh, well, flipping hell. What I'm discovering is the 1970s was a fucking nasty time. I remember when I lost my front tooth, and it was about 78, I went into this, I had to have all this experimental stuff done on my teeth. Any number of things could have been experimentally done in the 70s that you had no idea about. There was still lead in sweets, wasn't there, or something ridiculous? I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee, which is probably going to be, we'll discover is really bad for me in about 10 years' time. So I don't know. I just think, again, this is a really important story. It's tragic. There's a number of different stories about haemophiliacs who have been infected with blood, but through other kind of so-called treatments. And I think it's always okay to ask questions. If we can't ask questions, then we've slid into some kind of horrendous situation. Well, as we know, we can't ask questions. What are these two doing, guys? This is a photo for you. If you're listening on podcast, you're fucked. No, okay, I'll describe it. There's two young women looking quite sort of perky. One with a Robin Hood hat on, and they're carrying a shopping basket full of shopping. They don't look like they're rushing. Got any idea what these two might be up to? Well, these two are actually described as Robin Hoods, who are stealing from Marks and Spencer's and putting it in food banks. What do we think of this? Here they are. Self-styled Robin Hoods from activism group Everybody Eats posted images and footage of them filling shopping baskets with food in a Manchester M&S before showing off their haul contained in Sainsbury's bags. So police are launching an investigation to activists who accuse retailers of profiteering. A group of self-styled Robin Hoods are claiming to have stolen from M&S to give the goods to food banks. Stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. You can see how, obviously, the idea, it's a curious one, isn't it, Robin Hood, as an idea? Because we all agree with it. So does that mean we're all basically communists? I think so. We all think Robin Hood's cool, don't we? Whenever Robin Hood comes on, we go, yay, Robin Hood. We don't go, oh, the Sheriff of Nottingham. Sheriff of Nottingham's the one who runs M&S in this analogy. And Robin Hood is the one with the shopping basket. So who do we root for? But then what are we rooting for? We're rooting for fucking revolution. But maybe Nadia, like Nadia said yesterday, maybe we need to be commies. But we're not commies. And if we were commies, we'd all be getting annoyed because Dina's got larger aubergines than anyone else. And then we'd be looking at her allotment and going, how's she got those big aubergines? We should be looking at mine going, look at the size of his marrows. I don't like marrows, so I wouldn't be growing marrows, would I? See, it's a thin end of the wedge, this. You start stealing from M&S, you start competing with your marrows. Is it the right thing to do when people are hungry and there's plenty to go round? Oh, socialism is acknowledging we want to stop being predatory, says MeTube. Chin chin, that's just stupid. No one wins because then the price of goods goes up, says Christine Bett. Very good point. Very well made. Interesting. Yes, because unless by being Robin Hood, everyone was Robin. Yeah, but then if everyone's Robin Hood, then it's The Walking Dead. It's curtains. Oh, we're fucked. We're all so fucked. It's a mess, isn't it? School VAT puts off 1 in 4 families. Sounds like a dry story. Potentially is a dry story, but I want to talk about it for a minute because I heard Matthew Wright on the radio today. I really like it when you hear journalists and reporters and people reversing their thoughts on something. I thought this was all a brilliant idea. Even though our kids went to private school for a little bit, I just think, why isn't the system such that there was a time where I'd have said close all private schools, take all the money out of them and spread it around all the schools. And then theoretically it'll all work out. Doesn't work like that, though, does it? And it's never going to happen. So this is the proposal that Labour intends to add 20% VAT to independent school fees if it wins the general election. Of course, most of that money is going to be transferred over to the parents. So the parents are going to see their fees hiked up. Now, for many who couldn't even, the thought of being able to send your kid to a private school is nano. It's a nano aspiration for the vast majority of people. The vast majority of people, it's irrelevant. It's not even a consideration. It couldn't even be thought about. So, of course, there's going to be zero sympathy there. But the statistics around what could happen if this law happens do affect everyone. Because I didn't realize that a huge percentage of the private schools in question are special needs schools or have specialist provision. And a vast number of those kids in those schools will then get, and a vast number of kids in just normal independent schools for those parents who are just about managing to get their kids there. They're doing everything. They're sort of balancing 86 jobs. They're standing on one foot with a mobile phone aerial in the corner. They're just about getting them to school. They're going to have to pull their kids out. And the numbers that they're talking about are something like between 50 to 100,000 children will be thrown back into the state school system. How the fuck's it going to cope with that? Are Labour going to actually say that the money they raise will go directly into those schools that will be picking up those kids? And it just struck me that actually this could end up creating a sort of mini tidal wave into an educative system, the mainstream system, that can't cope with what it's got and how many kids there are. And it's suddenly going to have to pick up the slack with all these kids. So I went a bit like Matthew Wright. I thought, hang on a minute. This isn't as simple as it looks. This isn't a Robin Hood story in school education, is it? Eton is not a special needs school. And I'm pleased you say that, Mitchell, because I think even in private schools, I think, in independent schools, there's a vast difference between the vast majority of fee-paying schools and Eton or Harrow and places like that. And so you wonder whether there's some way one could have a hierarchy, maybe, of that. Maybe there could be a band relative to the kind of size of the school. I don't know. But there's also going to be an awfully high number of special needs kids suddenly thrown into a system that can't even cope with the special needs kids that need special needs. Fucking hell, guys. As I said, the running theme today, it's all a mess. It's all a mess. We talked about squatting this week. That's where the commie chat came. Oh, no, hang on. Let's talk about this. Teacher fired. This could be Dina. Teacher fired over pupil's TikTok dance. A teacher has claimed she was unfairly sacked for coaching 9-year-olds in a TikTok dance, despite the ban on children under 13 using it. She was Georgia Rogers was accused of breaching safeguarding procedures. Safeguarding procedures by failing to report her pupils' use of the app. She was then sacked after an internal investigation.
Yeah.
Wow. So you can't get your phone out and do TikTok with your kids. It's a sackable offence.
Absolutely.
Edward Bevington, good point. 300,000 homeless veterans. All of which this is speaking towards, going back to... Well, TikTok's going to be banned in America, so that won't be the case. I wonder if it's banned in America, it'll be banned here, won't it? Good point. 300,000 homeless veterans. Well, going back to the homelessness thing, here's a photograph of squatters leave Gordon Ramsay's posh 13 million pub. What's happened to me? Sorry. In ones and twos yesterday. The freeloaders had been given until noon to quit after lawyers obtained a high court writ. What a shame. They'd opened a cafe. It was called the Camden Arts Cafe. They were doing drawing lessons for people and what have you. Anyway, but again, squatting. That's a thing of the 70s, isn't it? Squatting. Maybe we should all squat. Tracy Watt, special needs schools are few and far between in Glasgow. I'm so lucky my son got into the fantastic school that he goes to. Just making sure that lovely Lee is... Lee's in the helicopter. He's in the helicopter and he's drinking a daiquiri. Okay, so that's all good. Mum dies after turkey tum op. Blood clot tragedy. A mother of 3 died from a blood clot while having a £2,000 gastric sleeve surgery in Turkey. Don't do it, guys. I hear more and more horror stories about people heading off to Turkey. But once again, the system's fucked, guys. You can't get your teeth done without going to Turkey. What's happened? What's going on? Teeth in Turkey, Tums and bots, schools that I don't get it. This is the Leanne Leary, bless her, had not told her family or GP. The 38-year-old messaged Dad just before going into theatre saying, I didn't want people to try to put me off. I need this for me and my health. But she had an undiagnosed deep vein thrombosis, which led to a heart attack. Jesus Christ. I suppose we live in a culture where people are driven to these things. It's just so sad. God, it really is. It's toast. Gen Z shun the fatty full English. Wow. The Great British Fry-Up faces an uncertain future. You know, we had one the other day. It was the most, I'll just share with you. It was a moment. It was one of the most fantastic things I've eaten in recent years. But I never want one again. It's weird, isn't it? It's like, do it once, but never again. Look, there's a few things in life that you should only do once, but not often. But anyway, this is the story that Gen Zers, what are they? Which ones are Gen Zers?
Gen Zers are your kids.
Our kids, all right. The Great British Fry-Up faces an uncertain future as Gen Zers find the breakfast too fatty or time-consuming to put together. I get the time-consuming. I can get it's a plate of death, really, isn't it? Let's face it. I mean, a full English is a plate of death. It really is. It's just literally heart attack on a plate. What's your favourite? Oh, avocado on sourdough, Bonnie Delaney. I've become one of those wankers. I'll have smashed avocado on sourdough. It's really horrible, isn't it? Smashed avocado. I saw on a menu somewhere, distressed avocado. I wanted to look after it. Distressed. Yeah. Aggravated avocado with nuts. Aggravated avocado with seed. Keely Windle, I'm in hospital, and the girl came in having had gastric surgery in Greece. They put an extraordinary amount of liquid in her, and she collapsed on the plane. Good God, Keely. It's just madness out there. Ellery Jones, you had scrambled eggs for breakfast. It's weird. I don't like a scrambled egg, and I don't like an omelette. I don't like the idea that it's all congealed in some way. Kirsty, avocado on Vegemite toast. Live yogurt. Kaz Rowley. What does live yogurt mean? I always envisage you open a tub of live yogurt and it attacks you. It's like it's coming out of that fucking tub. It's like, oh, I'm here. Eat me. Is it like that? Is it live, as in a living? Oh, Elizabeth Gordon. Oh, mashed banana, raspberry, kefir yogurt. Dina's just vomited on the floor over there. We'll have to mop that up, Dina. Nicola Randall used to just be deconstructed. I tell you what I do like about an Eton mess is like someone's put it together, just gone ADHD style. Fuck this for a game of soldiers. Just smashed it all up. I love that. Bonnie Delaney, me and you together should hold hands and skip into the poached egg horizon. I love it. Live cultures, Kazrali. As soon as I'm eating something where you could describe it as live cultures, it's not food, is it? Steph Schultz, ran my parents for bacon, fresh tomatoes, eggs later. See, suddenly I'm wanting to fry up. This is becoming quite something. Okay, well, there you go. Gen Z is too much time, too much stress. Stacey Randall, stop being such a naughty girl. Bless you. Very sweet. Very sweet. She's gifting memberships left, right, and centre with gay abandon, which is kind of appropriate because Lee's here in a minute. Right. What's my next head? Oh no, I was going to have a quick natter about poor old Nicola Sturgeon. Yeah, she's only just learnt to drive, and her hubby's just been charged with the embezzlement issues around the SNP. That's not good. Soaring cost of a cuppa as global tea and coffee prices rise up by up to 50%. If anything's going to bring this country down, it's the price of a cup of tea. Though, did anyone see Coffee Moaning the other day when it was a £365 cup of coffee you can get in Mayfair, unsurprisingly. Soaring cost of cost of a cup of tea is going up. It's spiraling up, especially because of the Middle East conflict. Oh, isn't it terrible? It's the only headline the Mail has got that relates to the Middle East is about the soaring cost of a cup of tea. There you go. I'm being a bit kind of chicken. They're not, but all the other ones are about how evil Iran is. Which, by the way, I'm not saying they're not as a regime. It is thoroughly unpleasant, but it's just jaundiced coverage, isn't it? Can of worms. Yeah, so look, having a brew up, Middle East conflict causes rise in tea prices as ships are forced to reroute. Oh, fucking hell, guys. The world. God, how dare those Palestinians die? Gallows for a cup of fucking tea. Come on, get a grip. One of the mayoral candidates in London. See it, play it, get chucked off the tube. Passengers listening to music out loud or taking phone calls on speakerphone could be thrown off the tube. I was on the train yesterday. I can't stand people who talk on. I can't stand it when Nadia does it. I find it the most antisocial thing you can do. What it says is, my conversation is so important, I'm hijacking the social situation all around me. You all have to listen. And more often than not, you are forced to be dragged into the conversation if it's family. And it's not that you don't want to talk to them, but not now. Sorry, just went on there. But on the tube yesterday, someone was talking loud. And I just felt like saying, put it to your ear. Put it to your ear. So I'm up for this. I don't like Susan Hall, who's the Conservative candidate, but she says that she'd get them thrown off. I just want to know how you enact this. Who's going to throw someone off for having their phone on loudspeaker? It's all well and good saying what we're going to do. This is what politics has become, hasn't it? We're going to do this. How? It's just stupid politics, isn't it? We're going to do this. How? We're going to stop people walking. Why? How? Well, we can't. Paraglider is mauled in eagle attack at 6,000 feet. Lesson in this is he's not dead. Thomas Rieu was enjoying a tranquil Saturday soaring through the French Alps when something whacked him on the back of the head. It was an eagle. The eagle was saying, fuck off. You haven't got wings. You're not a bird. What are you doing? If an eagle came into your lounge, you would try and get it out the window, wouldn't you? So he felt pain as talons drilled through his helmet. Thus began a 13-minute struggle between Rieu, a 34-year-old engineer, and a golden eagle bent on killing him. No, the eagle wasn't bent on killing him. This eagle had no ill intent. The eagle was busy being an eagle. This douchebag was trying to pretend to be a flying human. Sorry. Birds of prey sometimes try to drive off people who intrude in their airspace. Why the fuck not? You're an eagle, you're flying about, and then here comes some douchebag called Rieu on a paraglider. Don't blame the eagle. It's ridiculous. He paraglider mauled. And what do you expect? You're in eagle land. Selfie taken by macaque. Look at this monkey. Look at him in Bali. I have to say, the monkeys in Bali are petrifying. There is a film. I was going to try and find it, but I couldn't be bothered, and I didn't want to give the Daily Mail the publicity. But apparently there's like an area in Thailand, somewhere in Thailand, which is like Planet of the Apes, where like a gang of monkeys, they literally attack people. But in Bali, I don't think they've quite flipped to the other side. One thing they do, and I'm going to share this because it's really distressed me. There was a when we were driving up some road in one of their kind of little bus beamer type things, we paused and stopped, and we were like, what's going on? And everyone on there, it's not a bus, but they're like little VW camper vans that chug around Lombok. And we had to stop and wait, and I'm not exaggerating, for approximately 30 monkeys like this, all masturbating in the road. Just had to wait. It was the oddest traffic jam I've ever been in my life. Why have we paused? Masturbating macaques. Very strange. Are they thinking what we're thinking? As we know, apparently, am I right in thinking an octopus is all brain? Sounds a bit like Maddie's boyfriend. He's all brain. He's just all brain. Are they thinking what we're thinking? Scientists have issued a declaration that animals should be considered as conscious beings. We don't need scientists to know that. You just need to look at toffee. We know they're conscious beings. If you give bees a little ball, they will roll it around. Oh my God, suddenly I just want a pet bee. Oh, especially when they're young. If you show some fish species a mirror, they will attack it first. But then when they realize that it can't be attacked, they'll swim upside down to look at themselves. I feel like I'm in a Disney film. I can't bear it. And crows and ravens can use knives and forks. It's just very hard to keep them sitting at the table. I had a bit of a moan yesterday about one of our bins, and I thought, fucking hell, imagine having to deal with this. Squealy bins. Refuse workers refuse. Did you get that? Refuse workers refuse over a warning regarding ginormous rats. When you feel a bin man is being, in your eyes, not theirs, pedantic about the lid of their bin, don't be. The reason your bin needs to be shut is because hiding therein can be some of the most monstrous creatures known to man. I love my bin man. Bin men are being savaged by rats the size of cats. Has anyone seen one? Has anyone had one? Have you had a rat the size of a cat? Apparently they think some of the rats have mated with foxes, don't they? They're called fats. Why is Nadia squealing?
You keep telling her to stop it.
Stop what? Why? I know, babe, but they're big. The country pumpkin, monstrous creatures, meaning my old bras. That's odd. What, have you seen a giant rat wearing a bra? Your bra. Botter Carry On, Kenneth Williams. I don't know if any of you are fans of Kenneth Williams. It's weird, isn't it, when you start to see or hear a name and you think, my God, soon everyone who knew who Kenneth Williams was will be dead. Carry On legend. Apparently Kenneth Williams loved to fart a lot. And apparently he would always fart when he was doing a live show, when he was doing interviews. He'd just sit there and trump away like a nutter. Botter Carry On, Kenneth. The papers are still... Bang, there is comedy legend fart. Do you know anyone who just farts freely? Dina used to, but she doesn't now. Her gut has been sorted. Her gut literally has been sorted. Taylor Swift's, I've never known an album be more analysed to try and align tracks on her album with the men that she's referring to. I don't know who half of them are. But anyway, here's the Daily Mail. The Tortured Poets Department. Can I ask anyone, is it good? Will it be good? Miriam Margolis, she loves a good fart. You love Taylor? Yeah, lots of Taylors. My cat looks at me through the window with a mouse in his mouth. I try to ignore him, says Tracy Watt. Oh, and he's brought it to you as a gift. That's sad. He's looking for acceptance. This is a funny story. Hedgehog deflated by rescuers after ballooning to twice its size. The hedgehog that had swollen to the size of a football, so big it was spotted in a field, has been deflated by rescuers. It's been nicknamed Bounce. It blew up to twice its normal size. It was diagnosed with balloon syndrome. Did you know that was even a thing? Where air gets into a gap between the skin and the musculoskeletal. Look at that. Wow. I wonder if you just put like a pin in and it just kind of deflates. Bless him. Wild Hogs, which is an organisation that looks after hedgehogs, has been rescuing hedgehogs for 14 years. And it's hoped that Bounce will bounce back and make a full recovery. There you go. Sydney Sweeney, why is there so much? Can I ask, why is there so much hate for this girl? Are people jealous that she's a great actress and beautiful? This is the story. It was early this week. Top Hollywood producer Carol Baum said she can't see the point of Sydney Sweeney, 26. She's not pretty and she can't act. This woman's a sort of veteran movie producer saying this sort of stuff. She's not pretty and she can't act. Why is she so hot? Said this producer. Nobody has the answer.
And she's smart as fuck.
Yeah, and she said this based upon watching a rom-com that she'd been in. So she hadn't seen her in Euphoria, hadn't seen her in reality. I can't get her head around the fact that someone can actually be beautiful and play. I did a review of her film Immaculate. She has very cleverly, this actress, harnessed what people think she is into something that she then turns on its head. Which I think actually, in a weird way, Marilyn Monroe did and would have had an opportunity to do more of if she'd stayed alive. But interestingly, the reason I pulled this was Amanda Platel, that wonderful woman who fights for other women in the Mail. You think, oh, look, she's kind of supporting her, and she kind of, in a way, does. But then at the end of her article, she says, "We ordinary women love new stars who aren't classically pretty." Kind of managing to kind of say the same thing whilst at the same time pretending she's not saying the same thing. It's just ridiculous. You may have seen this earlier. A nice little photograph here for those of you listening. You've got a bald John Travolta. You've got Uma Thurman, Samuel L. Jackson and Harvey Keitel. What is it? It's a Pulp Fiction reunion. Looking good. Made me want to rewatch the film. But in coming together, they did talk about how much they all missed Bruce Willis not being there. Obviously, Bruce Willis struggling, bless him, with dementia. I just want to give everyone a warning before I pop up the next photo. If you're listening on podcast, you can be saved this absolutely ghastly image. It's a frightening image. It's a distressing image. It's one that I just find really hard to watch. Had to consider. Had to show it to Nads and say, "Do you think that the subs can cope with this?" But she said, "Try it. Look at his boots. Oh my God. I can't bear it. I can't bear it. Tell me when you've had your fill, and tell me when I can pull it down." Keir Starmer in a sort of, it's like a welly crossed with a cowboy boot. I can't bear it. Tell me, have you had enough? Have you had enough? Have you all done it? Have you all done it? Oh, fucking hell. What is he up to? This image I just love. See that? Look at that. A red squirrel, no less, taking flight, literally, in the Yorkshire Dales. Great photo, isn't it? What a photo. Brilliant photo. And we've got Sir Lewis Hamilton dressed like a Wookiee. It's a good look.
His brother on the show,
Yeah.
Inspiring chap he was.
Yeah, his brother. You said he was incredibly inspiring. Lewis Hamilton there. I like that get-up, actually. I prefer it to Justin Bieber's. This is a last story that I found. Full meal slapped into a sarnie. Gen Zers, not only do they not like, what's it called, full English, but they do like shoving an entire dinner in a sandwich. Up to 90% of under 27s have slapped full meals between slices of bread to make a sarnie. I love going to the fridge and just eating ingredients. Do you do that? Is it a male thing? I don't know. I used to do it when I got drunk and come in late and go, hit that. You can either do one of two things. You can either put the ham with the cheese in a sandwich, in bread, with butter and eat it, or you could just eat the cheese, eat the ham, and then eat the buttered bread afterwards. That's how I do it. And finally, final photo. Look at that, lemon. Lemon smells like Alf, as in Alfred Hitchcock. Just taking the pith. Okay, I think we're going to have a lot of fun later today. So at midday today, noon, to those of you who don't know what midday is, the Curly Cooks is landing, and we have a guest, and he's currently flying over Dulwich. He says his helicopter is on time. When he's landed in the garden, I must clear up Toffee's poo, actually, so that when he lands, he doesn't step in it. So he'll be here. He'll be joining us. Lee will be joining us for the Curly Cooks, with a difference, with a twist, with a spark and a zest. And we're going to be sharing some sort of exciting news with you then. So join us there. Thank you so much for all your comments. Thank you for the silliness. It's quite nice to have a newspapers that was less serious and less bogged down in stuff. So have a lovely day. And once again, a huge, huge thank you to Stacey Randall, who has been Robin Hood-esque in sharing the wealth of our membership area. You will be seeing us live. We will be Sunday. No Name Sunday show will be live tomorrow at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow morning. Join us there or be square. So I'm going to head off now.